Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Hewitt, and welcome to the Conservative Voice Show, your place for honest, controversial, and the hottest in political conversations. Happy Halloween, everybody. So, I lied, and I'm Clyde Barlow, and I've just been shot and killed by that damn Frank Hammer in Bineville Parish, Louisiana. And so today, on the Conservative Voice Show, we're going to talk about some things that have kind of been forgotten this election. One of them being the House and Senate elections, and two, some White House and Capitol Hill ghost stories. Make sure you stick around. So, as the presidential election nears, a lot of the importance of the election is always on the president. And for some reason, everyone always seems to forget about the House and Senate elections, which is really kind of dumb in my opinion, just being straight up honest. Because the House and Senate are the branch that's responsible for legislating laws. So laws you don't agree with don't necessarily come from the president. Hell, more than likely they don't come from the president. Two, the Senate, which is currently Republican, majority held, has a good possibility of being flipped blue in the Democrat majority. Second, the House is also up for grabs, but it's probably going to be retained by the Democrat majority. What that means is that we're looking at the potential of having a Democratic president, a Democratic Senate, and a Democrat-held majority House. And I don't know about all of you, but that is absolutely scary. All right. With that all being said, it's not looking good for the Republicans. According to a 538 predictive model, the Democrats are going to come out with control of the Senate. In their simulations, Republicans keep control 22 out of the 100 runs, while Democrats keep control of majority 78 out of the 100 times. That is absolutely ridiculous when you think about the incumbents that are in the Senate now are now going to lose that majority to Democrat opposers. They're predicting a 51% majority for the Democrats, which isn't a lot. 51% is not a lot of majority. However, in the world of politics, this damn makeup is itchy. I don't know how women do this all day. Anyway, so isn't a lot of majority. It's not. But what you have to remember is that any majority amount, whether it be 49-48, 55-50, 53-50, whatever, even though it can't be like that because there's not that many senators, but whether it be 48-50, 49-50, whatever it may be, right? A majority is a majority. And that means that they are going to have the simple majority votes needed to pass whatever they need if the Democrats come ahead. So the races that are in those battleground states and those states this year still seem to be a toss-up. And so I think that's where a lot of confusion is happening, is when you look at the polls this year, there's a lot of uncertainty, in my opinion, in the polls. Now, yes, there are polls that are saying this is going to happen. There are polls saying the Republicans are going to hold it. There's polls that say that Biden is up 15 points, even though we've seen it begin to tighten over the last few days. So there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of opposing polls. And I think that is what makes it so hard this year anyway, is just because of the broad range and uncertainty in the polls. Because normally, as we normally see, you start to see that tightening of the polls, and you start to get a more clear picture. So speaking of polls and looking at Real Clear Politics for the Senate elections only, it is looking blue a lot of the ways. So today, Virginia Senator, where there's Gate versus Warner, has Warner up 16 points in Virginia against the Gate. Yesterday, you have all of Georgia, North Carolina, and Georgia's special election, which has Warnock, Loeffler, Collins, Lieberman, Slowinski, and Tarver all running for that special election. Has Warnock up 12 points in favor of blue. In North Carolina, the 3 polls that were done, one done by East Carolina University, has Cunningham up 1. Even a Rasmussen Reports has Cunningham up 3. An NBC News poll has Cunningham up 10. Looking back to Thursday of last year, you have in Minnesota, you have Smith up 3 by Survey USA, which, by the way, Survey USA has the best poll average accuracy in the United States. Doesn't mean it's right all the way. I think if I remember correctly, it's up there in like the 80 plus percentile rate, meaning that it's accurately predicted 80 plus percent of the elections. So just keeping that in mind. Smith's up 3% according to that poll. Now, Iowa, which is a big swing state and a battleground state, the Quinnipiac poll does have Ernest up 2 points. And the Real Clear Politics average there has Greenfield up, who's the Democrat opposer, 1.5%. So that is a close race in Iowa. So as we look at all the polls, we're seeing a big swing in the Senate polls towards a Democrat majority. When looking at 538 simulation, like I was talking about earlier, you're having states like Georgia has Purdue winning 57 out of 100 times. Awesome. Holding Republican. Iowa, Ernest and Greenfield actually has Greenfield winning 54 out of 100 times. In Georgia, in the special election, you have Democrats winning 64 and 100 times. When you look at North Carolina, you have blue winning there, Cunningham winning that election like I was talking about. When you look at South Carolina, even though at the beginning did look really, really well for Jamie Harrison, it's starting to swing back in Lindsey Graham's favor, and you have Lindsey Graham win 77 out of 100 times. In Arizona, you have 81. You have Kelly winning 81 out of the 100 times in Arizona, which historically has always been a red state. But what you do see when you look down these is that it's not you don't see a polarized difference in those battleground states. You see that one side is winning 54% of the time or 53% of the time or something like that, where there's no true oh, well, he blew him out of the water kind of thing. And so I think a big impact on both this election and when we go forward to the House election here in a few minutes, I think that President Trump's demeanor and behavior this weekend is going to decide what senator and House representative for the state they vote for. And I say that because humans are inherently lazy. Let's be honest. If I can go to McDonald's instead of cooking dinner, I will do that every single time because I like McDonald's way more than I enjoy cooking. But when you go to the polls and vote, you're going to have the options to either do all red, all blue, or go through each and individual category and vote for who you want. Meaning that if President Trump does really, really good, I'm like, I want President Trump to win the election. Vote for him. Boom. Click. So they vote for him. And then instead of clicking just for him, they vote all red. Which means, for me, for here, I would end up voting for President Trump, Vice President Biden, Lindsey Graham, Nancy Mace. All of those are the politicians up for election in South Carolina in my area. Meaning that it's way easier just to click vote all red, vote all blue. If Trump has a piss poor performance this weekend leading up to Tuesday, then a lot of people may just go, oh, well, I want Joe Biden to win, click all blue. And now, instead of going through and voting, well, I want Biden to win, but I want Lindsey Graham to still remain in the Senate, so I'm going to go through and do all that. No, they're just going to click whichever one. And I think that is going to be huge and very, very important when we talk about the elections. All right, so according to an article written by Brookings, there are 6 vulnerable seats in the Senate, one of which we saw very, very important if we remember back to the Amy Coney Barrett hearings. So remember how they had that night vote to say, yes, we're going to bring it to the floor to have an actual vote? Well, Senator Susan Collins of Maine voted against holding the vote to confirm Amy Coney Barrett. And that's because she is in a very, very heated contest with the Democrat opposer in Maine. And so the Senate needs to hold those vulnerable seats. the Republicans need to hold those seats if they're going to maintain a Republican majority. And so what we see is we see those senators and those Republican congressmen that are up for re-election that are having to kind of, I guess you could say, like tiptoe around things to try to hold things, especially in those very vulnerable districts. So set aside all of that. What do I think about the Senate race? I unfortunately believe that the Republicans are going to take a majority in the Senate. I do. I very much do, just given the polling data. Even though polling data is not always accurate. Remember yesterday in the show I was talking about President Trump and how his data is kind of pushing towards a Trumpward majority. You're not seeing that in the Senate. You're not seeing that as we look at the historical data, a data that's pushing towards Republican majority. And I think that 538 sees that, Real Clear Politics sees that, and that's the reason why we're getting those scenarios and those simulations that we are getting. Like I said earlier, I think a big way that they can combat this and try to hold that majority is based on a good performance by the president this weekend. The president and the Vice President Joe Biden are out on huge campaign rallies. I believe I read somewhere today that they are going to have 4 events in what I think is going to be Pennsylvania this weekend, which it shows a lot. It shows that Pennsylvania is important and that they both understand that that is a state that they need to win if they're going to win the election. So how Trump performs in Pennsylvania and the rest of the weekend and his Twitter and everything that the president does, it's just normally people don't enjoy. He needs to bring all that back, dial all that back. The president needs to be the president that he was on the second debate and push out the support of the Republican candidates. So the House, on the other hand, is not nearly as close. It is absolutely a blowout per the 538 simulators. They have the Republicans gaining majority at 2. So 2 runs out of the 100, Republicans take majority. The other 98 times, the Democrats maintain majority. So same thing that I was saying with the Senate election is the same thing I'm saying with the House elections. There's a new poll out today in New Mexico that has Herwell up 2 points in the Albuquerque Journal. Yesterday on Friday in New Jersey's 2nd District, the Stockton University put out a poll that has Kennedy up 1. Florida 13th District has Christ up 16. On Thursday, UNH put out one that actually shows New Hampshire, showing Mowers up 2 points in the historical, blue state. Because looking at just the historical data back in 924, Pappas was up 18. In 10-9, Pappas was up 10. And then this weekend has Mowers up 2, which I think is a good trend. If they could take that seat from the Democrats, that would be awesome. And I think I read somewhere that they need to take almost 13 seat majority to take back the House, which is a lot. When you think about it, that is incredibly a lot. Looking further down the polls, you have a poll on Wednesday that has the 2nd District of Maine, Golden up 25, which is no surprise. Maine is historically incredibly far left and normally always votes left. One that really surprised me, and it came out the middle of this week, was a KGD TV and Survey USA, which, like I said in the Senate, is normally incredibly accurate, has the California's 50th district, a Republican senator up 11 points in California. That right there could be a key. That is a key place the Republicans need to win that election. And seeing that data is so powerful in regards to how far ahead he is awesome. Unfortunately, we don't have any historical polls on Real Clear Politics to compare that to. But if that poll is correct and people do vote for him in that way, that would be a monumental win for the Republicans in the House. So, with all that being said, the Democrats have already kind of poised themselves towards a victory in the House. Honestly, if all this comes to fruition, it could be a very, very long 4 years for the American people. Because if that would, like I said earlier, that would be a Democrat president, Democrat held Senate, Democrat held House. And that to me is incredibly scary. Biden may be a moderate in his campaign and his thoughts, but one, he's weak, and two, he is unable to control the radical left that supports him. He is absolutely unable to control them. And we see that in his inability to denounce BLM and Antifa. We see that in his inability to tell Democratic governors to take back their cities. We see that in the social justice that he platforms on. We see that in the racial inequality that he proposes, which is not backed by any data. So the fact that Biden may campaign as a moderate does not mean that he's going to be a moderate when he's elected. Hell, AOC and the squad have already started their push for universal health care and other key items of their agenda ahead of the election. So there actually is a striking similarity, like I said, between the House and the Senate. I just think the Senate's going to be a little bit closer, as the majority of those polls have the election within the margin of error. And the Republicans, if they play right, if they do well, in my opinion, even though the simulations run something else, okay, mark it down, Halloween 10/31, Jonathan says that the Republicans are going to hold the Senate. That is my belief. So there's a new report out from Fox News that, in all honesty, the headline is the most important thing to me. Going through it, they don't really hit up on their headline very well, in my opinion. The headline reads, "Is the AOC takeover inevitable?" Meaning, is the blue wave that is possible to come inevitable for the Republicans to stop? And is it a guarantee for the American people? Because have no doubt, if the Dems take control of the House, Senate, and the presidency, they will pack the court with liberal judges and expand the court's the amount of justices to allow for a liberal majority on the Supreme Court. That is going to happen. 100%, there is no doubt. Two, they're going to press their socialist agenda, like Medicare for all, socialized jobs, income equality, and the rest of the Bernie Sanders mantra and ideology that his prodigy AOC has come to campaign on. There will be tax increases across the board. Vice President Biden and Senator Kamala Harris have already said that as soon as they get in office, they will repeal Donald Trump's tax reform, which will 100% raise taxes across the board, from those in poverty to those making millions and millions of dollars. Taxes will increase across the board. A poor foreign policy will happen, one based on appealing the enemies instead of deterrence, which is inherently dangerous. And then also the backing of BLM, Antifa, and all the social justice ideologies that the left has come to adorn. Those are things that we are looking at if the Democrats take control of those two branches of government. It will happen, and that is what's on the line in the election. Your life's not on the line, nothing crazy like that. But the American government and the institutions of American government are 100% on the line. All right, so enough political talk. It's Halloween, which means we're going to hit some scary stories from around Capitol Hill and the White House, which, to be honest, some of these I didn't know about. Did you know that there is a demon cat? I shit you not. That is what, according to the AOC, the architect of the Capitol.gov, says there is. All right, so these are the 5 creepiest legends about the Capitol building. Y'all ready? Cue the spooky music. A ghost cat that supposedly haunts the Capitol building appears before historic or tragic national events and has left a set of paw prints outside of the old Supreme Court chamber. While the paw prints are indeed in the floor near the entrance of the chamber, they are more likely from cats once used to kill vermin in the Capitol rather than a demon. I don't know, I'm going to tell you right now, if I saw a black cat walk in front of me and then some natural disaster happens, that's a demon cat. Don't get me wrong. I don't mess with black cats. That's a demon cat. All right. So the second one, wounded Civil War soldiers wander the statutory hall. In 1862, the military briefly converted the U.S. Capitol into a hospital for wounded Union soldiers. All right, pause right there. There's actually a really, really cool haunted hotel. I don't remember what it's called. I'll find it. It'll be on my Twitter. But it's in Savannah, Georgia. And they changed this hotel, or it was originally a Civil War hospital. And now it is a famous, probably one of the most haunted places in Savannah, Georgia. If you haven't been there, go. Trust me. All right. Anyway, more than 1,000 cots were placed in Statutory Hall before patients were removed later that year. According to legend, at least one soldier never left the building. Over the years, staffers have claimed that they have seen the shadow of a soldier among the statues. That's believable. You know, like the Civil War, there were tons of haunted places for the Civil War. And shadows kind of creep me out, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you ever been sitting there just minding your business and you see like a shadow out of like the corner of your eye and you look over there and there ain't nothing there? That's creepy. All right. So John Lindhall, clerk to architect Benjamin Latrobe, cursed the building with his dying breath. Well, shit, that's mean. Why would you curse a building? Of everything you could curse in the world, like your killer if you were killed, why would you curse a building? Anyway, Lindhall was working on what is today referred to as the Old Supreme Court when he mistakenly removed wooden supports during construction of the space. An arc in the room collapsed and killed him. Folklore proclaims that as Lindhall lay dying, he cursed the building before ultimately expiring. Okay, AOC, well, I'm not going to say AOC because we all know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, architects of the Capitol. Why are you going to use the word expiring to say his death? He ain't no dang peanut butter. He don't expire. He just dead. He just died. Anyway, the voice of John Quincy Adams can be heard shouting, "No," near the Speaker's lobby. During a debate on the House floor of the House of Representatives, Adams loudly voted no on a resolution, then promptly collapsed at his desk. He was moved to the Speaker's lobby where he fell into a coma and died 2 days later. Some Capitol employees claimed to hear someone shouting, "No," late at night. Okay, that one would be pretty creepy. If I was just sitting there, let's say I was a congressman and working on whatever legislation I'm trying to build or whatever it may be, and I heard someone just scream out "no," and then I went to investigate and there was no one there. Guess who wouldn't be working there late at night anymore? All right, so the last one for the Capitol building, and then we're gonna move on to the White House, which is equally as cool, I promise. In 1887, Talibi's career ended after a correspondent for the Louisville Times wrote an article alleging an affair. Over the next 2 years, the former member, who now worked as a lobbyist, and the reporter bumped into each other. Often, Toby would tease the reporter, a much smaller man. By 1890, the reporter had enough of the harassment and shot Toby on the stairs. That right there, you see all that? That is the reason why you don't bully people, because eventually they're going to break. Hear me now. Bullying is wrong. All right? Don't do it. You're going to end up getting yourself shot. He died 11 days later. A stain on the stairs in the Capitol building is often attributed to the former congressman's blood. All right, I don't know how true that is, okay? Because you think about it, you're the federal government, you have all this money, you're going to tell me you're just going to leave this man's blood stain on the Capitol steps? Like, are we serious? But nonetheless, that'd be pretty creepy if it was there, and I'm going to need answers to that. Anybody has answers, let me know down in the comments. All right, so on to the White House, and this one we're going to go a little bit more into because these are actually a little bit more substantiated. All right, so we're going to start out with the Lincoln family. All right, so from 1862 to 1863, Mary Todd Lincoln, while grieving over her son Willie's death, Mary Todd Lincoln was President Abe Lincoln's wife, all right, began to participate in spirit circles or seances in the Red Room at the White House and the Presidential College at the Soldiers' Home. Spiritualism was widely popular during the height of the Civil War as families sought comfort for the loss of their loved ones. Okay, which, that's not crazy, right? That's not crazy to believe, all right? But here's where it gets even better, okay? Speaking of the Lincoln family, There may have been more sightings of Abraham Lincoln's spirit than presidents who inhabited the White House, and some reports seem to be in jest. All of these are according to the constitutionalcenter.org, the whitehousehistory.org, and then the History Channel, okay? So you all know where I'm getting the story from. If y'all want to go do it, I guess I can link it down in the show description for you. And then if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be down in the description so you can go read it yourself if that's what you'd like. Seeing it is spooky season. But there are a lot of reports from workers at the White House and even Winston Churchill that they bumped into Lincoln wandering the buildings years after his death. Lincoln was shot at Ford's Theater in 1865 and died at a nearby boarding house. But it is his spirit that is reportedly stuck at the White House, where he planned the Civil War and started planning reconciliation when he was killed just days after Robert Lee's surrender. The most famous Lincoln story is from Churchill, who was staying at the residence after World War II. The British leader had emerged from a bath, wearing nothing and smoking a cigar. He reportedly met the late president. "Good evening, Mr. President. You seem to have me at a disadvantage," Churchill allegedly said. He also refused to stay in the room after the encounter. So there are plenty of these. You can all look them up. That Lincoln's ghost has been seen all over the White House. What is even more kind of like eerie about it is that there are stories that Lincoln predicted his own death. All right? And it happened in a dream, and I'm telling you, I've had a dream that some weird guy assassinated me, killed me. I've been pretty creeped out. All right? So, on April 4th, 1865, Lincoln shared a recent dream with a small group that included his wife, Mary Todd, and Lamont, which was one of his friends. In it, he walked into the east room of the White House to find a covered corpse, guarded by soldiers and surrounded by a crowd of mourners. When Lincoln asked one of the soldiers who had died, the soldier replied, "The president. He was killed by an assassin." Interestingly, Lincoln supposedly later insisted to Lamont that the body on display was not his own, so he himself did not view the dream as a portent of his own demise. Some historians have cast doubt on Lamont's account, which was first published in the 1860s, nearly 20 years after the assassination. Though Lamont claimed to have reconstructed the incident based on notes he made in 1865, it does seem odd that neither he nor Mary mentioned the dream right after the president's murder, especially seeing, and I say that especially, because Mary Lincoln was all into that spiritual stuff and seances. If she thought that her husband had predicted his own death, wouldn't she have said something or spoken out about it? Nonetheless, anybody that predicts their own death, that's weird, it's creepy, and I don't want to turn off the lights afterwards. All right, another huge one that goes is Dolly Madison. So Dolly Madison, obviously the president, or the wife of President Madison, was the one that kind of put the Rose Garden where it was at tonight, or where it's at today. So the Rose Garden of the White House has been around since the Madison administration. Well, under, I believe it was the Wilson administration, they tried to move the garden. And the story goes that there were two gardeners who went into the garden, and while they were trying to move it, was met by a very, very angry and mean Dolly Madison. Ran them out, and when they told the accounts since then, the Rose Garden has never been touched since. It gives you like a whole new set on gardening, I guess, or having a green thumb. So the next one is William Henry Harrison. It's said to haunt the attic. He was the first president to die in the White House. Abigail Adams hangs her laundry in the East Room, and contemporary staff claim that they can smell wet laundry and the scent of lavender, which is very commonly used in the doing of laundry during her time. An unnamed British soldier who perished in the War of 1812 runs the White House grounds holding a torch. That right there probably be the creepiest. If I just saw a torch just moving by itself in the grounds, nope. No. I may have been in the military, all of that. Nope. I don't mess with that. Absolutely not. There's no way. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed some of those creepy stories. Like I said, I will link all of them down below. So if you want to go read them, read them to your kids, read them at night at midnight when you're doing your own Ouija boards and seances. That's all on you, but I'll leave the link down below. All right. In regards to the election, everything like that, there's a lot of uncertainty, I know, and I know that I may not have made it crystal clear, but I made it as clear as I can make mud for you guys, okay? But we'll see how things go over the weekend. Make sure that you hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment down below, and then check back in Monday, all right? For tonight, go out, be safe, have fun, and enjoy Halloween with your family. And as always, I hope you all have a great weekend. Stay safe, and God bless.